another Sister Voices Speaking. We are excited here. We have Misty. Something I'd like to say is marinate and allow your hormones. You're going to see a major difference in your where we're going to go and see
because I was in a relationship and I was very in love.
Welcome back to another Sister Voices Speaking. We are excited here. We have Misty. We're doing a part 2 with KiKi Magnifique. We're going to be discussing trauma and sexual assault within the community, but more so trauma. We've all experienced it to some degree, especially with the pandemic that's going on. And we want to highlight all traumas because all traumas matter. But we definitely want to finish the conversation about sexual assault and trauma within the community. It's so good to see you, Misty.
Yes, it's wonderful to see you, Storm. How are you doing today, baby?
I'm doing okay. I can't really complain. Things are good. I'm excited to get part 2 done. We've been so busy. We have a lot going on with work and things like that. So really excited to be able to have this day to film with you. So with that being said, let's bring her right on in, Miss KiKi Magnifique. I'm so excited to talk to her. She has been taking care of some things. She's getting ready to start her own project, a protest with the community on assault and trauma, and she's getting that together. So she's been very busy, but we have her here. We're excited to bring her on, so let's welcome her, KiKi Magnifique. Welcome back. We are here. We have the lovely KiKi Magnifique. But first, before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Brytn Smile. They are sponsoring the show today. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing activated charcoal powder. If you're looking for a natural way to whiten your smile, now this is just one application. If you're looking for a natural way to whiten your smile, please use my discount code Valdeztve by going to brytnsmile.com and make your purchase. You are going to love it the first time I use it, and I have to say I'm super excited. Now, KiKi, did you have a question about the powder? You had said something earlier. What did you have? What kind of questions did you have?
I basically showed how disgusting my teeth currently are.
Oh, stop it.
And asked like if I used it on these, would it completely whiten it? Because
the first application you use, you are going to see a major difference in the color of your teeth. I mean, I literally used it 5 minutes ago, and wow, I drink a lot of coffee. So this definitely whitens your smile immediately the first time you use it. So check it out.
now?
Hi, KiKi.
Yes.
Hi.
It's good to see you. So the last time we were here, we had a lot to talk about. We talked about some trauma, we talked about some sexual assault, and we're really happy to have Raven MQ online because she had a lot of questions. KiKi, can you just piggyback off the last time that we spoke?
Yes. So for anybody who doesn't already know, my YouTube show is KiKi Magnifique, and I originally started that channel to talk about things that I feel matter when it comes to violence against the trans community. I'm focusing on sexual assault within the trans community because that has personally affected me. And I didn't know anything until I did some research about it, and so I wanna share what I've learned, and that's what my channel is for. I will also be using it to talk about other forms of violence in the community. Now, what we talked about last time was statistics regarding what happened, or regarding what I discovered about violence within against the trans community. And that is that 1 in 2 transgender people are going to be victims of sexual assault. And if you are a transgender person of color, or you are at a much higher likelihood of being assaulted. And it is very, very terrifying to think about, if I'm being honest.
It is, and as I said the last time, I shared a little bit about what had happened to me when I left a nightclub, being followed by someone and the aggression. But it didn't just stop there. I remember a while back, in a relationship, my partner, we just had some communication problems, and I was choked and drug outside. And again, there weren't a lot of outlets or resources for trans women. As a matter of fact, there wasn't even a lot of sensitivity training. So a lot of us had to endure this and live with it. So we want to kind of stop this now and make this public so another young woman doesn't have to go through this. So I think that's very interesting. And we're happy to talk about it further.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely a domestic abuse survivor myself, but mine was in the terms of a relationship, because I was in a relationship and I was very in love with the guy. So he had a post-traumatic stress disorder issue, and he would get like blackout drunk and start ripping apart the house and start like beating on me, and he would forget that he was doing it. But the best time of it was when he was just beating on me for hours, and the cops were called. There was like 12 cop cars outside. I wouldn't let them in the house to help me because of I was in love with the guy. I was trying to protect him. I didn't want him to go to jail. And but what turned it is because he was just pummeling me, and he ended up sexually assaulting me as I was in and out of consciousness, and did it while I was unconscious. And afterwards I was like, did this really just happen?
Yeah. And that is a form of intimate partner sexual violence, because and like most of the time, intimate partner sexual violence can actually occur in more than one circumstance. Like in my case, I dated my ex for 11 months, and I lost track of how many times he's done it to me.
Can you explain, what did he do? You said he's done it to you.
Well, the one that is the most traumatic for me is the fact that he had talked about wanting to do some kind of role play. I had told him at the beginning of the relationship that I like a little bit of, not too much, but a little bit of force, because that's just something I've been into, but not like to the point where my consent doesn't matter. Like there's things like, there's a thing called safe words that you use, and if you use the safe word, you're supposed to stop. He didn't always stop. So eventually we did away with the safe words, and just no means no. Well, after this, he tried to do this role play thing that I did not consent to. And I was his sister, he was my brother. And unfortunately, he also tried to make me want it by using physical force. Problem is, he was not doing it at all in a way that seemed to be in any way valuing me. And
That's very interesting, because if you have safe words, isn't that supposed to make it like safe where you don't have, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you
basically, the idea in a relationship where there's anything that's not really, something that involves role play, there has to be safe words, just so that they know when to stop the role play versus when to, when it's okay.
That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. So for this particular role play, we had safe words, but I did not consent to this because I told him previously from this point forward, because he did not respect the safe words, no means no, stop means we're done.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, well, he did this role play I did not consent to. I was his brother, I was his sister, he was my brother, and he pulled on my hair. Like, he started doing what he was doing. I told him, please stop, I don't want to do this. I'm not doing your stupid role play. And he, next thing I know, he's bear hugging me. He's pulling the top of my hair. And I'm pushing away from him to the best of my ability because and begging him to just stop. And he did not seem to care. And the more I tried to push away from him, the more violent he got.
Are you okay? I want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just some minor anxiety whenever I talk about this.
Before we move to the next segment, I really just wanted to make sure that you were in a good space because this can open up wounds that you never even knew you had. And
Yeah.
when you open those kind of wounds, you want to make sure that you're okay and that you can move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised I was able to talk about it once, but
a quick
that was
small
on my
break,
show.
And let the guests recoup. We're going to bring her back in, and we're going to continue our discussion on trauma, but we wanted to make sure that she was okay and that she was safe. So we have her in the waiting room and we're getting ready to bring her back in. Let's bring her in now. Your discretion is advised. This is a sensitive topic and we want to make sure that everyone is okay. I remember when I got choked by this gentleman who I thought was great because, you know, he's tall, light-skinned, and he worked and swept me off my feet maybe with his language. And I was like, whoa, this is a good guy. But in fact, he was very verbally abusive and mentally abusive when I was in my 20s. I think I was about 21. And he was probably in his late 30s. And yeah, that time when I got choked and drug outside, you know, sometimes it is hard for me to support community because community had been so traumatizing to me with, you know, and it's not our fault. We weren't taught sisterhood. So it's not our fault that some of the women within that community didn't get along because we didn't know any better. We know better today, but then we didn't know any better. And so a lot of times we didn't talk to each other. We didn't have that support. We didn't have that sisterhood. And so we had to endure a lot of the pain. And sometimes that had developed into like some mental, you know, disabilities, etc. So Misty, when you were getting beat, did you have anyone to talk to? Were you able to go to anyone? Were there any resources for you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because my best friend lived in the building at the time, and I was trying to conceal it. I didn't want anyone to know because I felt very ashamed and humiliated. I felt I just didn't want him stripped of me out of my life, believe it or not. I was trying to protect him. I felt bad, like if I could fix it. I feel like the love blinded me because I felt that as long as I stayed in there, maybe if I could fix him. But it didn't ever go that way. It only got worse.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying I relate to that completely. People think that people don't understand that it doesn't matter the kind of violence within a relationship, be it physical, emotional, sexual abuse. It doesn't matter. Like that kind of relationship, that toxic kind of relationship, tends to chip away at the victim, tends to strip them of their self-worth, strip them of their sense of self-love, makes them feel like they can't do any better, but all the while that you're in love with your abuser, and so now you're trying to protect him. And so it's like while you're dying, you're lifting him up and protecting him because that's just how the abuse affects you. It's not something we consciously choose to do. Like, for example, one of the reasons that why my abuse only lasted 11 months and I was able to get out much quicker, was it wasn't just my friend who forced me out of that relationship, but the fact that I pretty much had an idea of what was going on. It's just knowing is only half the battle. There's a reason that phrase exists. Because, like, when you know about it, that doesn't mean you're still not, like, there's a reason why people feel guilty. It's not just, oh, the abuse happened to me, now I feel guilty. No, there's something that the victim may or may not have done that they are blaming themselves for. And
Do you think sometimes the message gets mixed? Because that's very interesting. I know Missy had said something about, like, if you do sex work. I mean, Missy, you would know more because you had said something about it. You had read something about, like, if you do sex work, are you giving the...
I was just wondering if she felt like participating in sex work contributes to a negative stereotype.
Or like maybe if you're like a sexualized girl, like if you exude sexual, do you think sometimes we bring this unwanted behavior?
Honestly, I do not, because the way it is like this. Consent is actually one of the most important things with any human interaction, be it, hey, can you go to the store with me? If they say no, they don't have to. If they say yes, then they can go with you. Same thing happens with, like, hey, do you want to wrestle? Like, if the person says no and you just start beating on them, that's abuse. Same thing happens with sex. If you say no to sex and they continue going, it is rape. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, because if I'm being honest, like, when it comes to dressing however you feel, it's a matter of self-expression. It's a matter of who you present yourself as. And a lot of times I do wear, like, sometimes I'll tie my shirt up, like, on really hot days, and I'll wear, like, really short shorts. I'm doing that because it's extremely hot. I'm extremely sweaty. I don't want this attention. I just want to be comfortable and cool. But I think that in this society that places that has the cis-normative view on sex, that and subsequently also fetishizes the transgender community. Like, if you differentiate in any way that is deemed sexual by cisgender men, like, you are automatically assumed to be inviting the attack, or inviting
I feel like you gotta break it down. I think I'm getting a little lost.
Oh, sorry.
Misty, can you, like, now what were exactly what you...
Objectification is dehumanizing, but in certain instances are we objectifying ourselves by trying to give an overly sexualized image to have male approval, and then when they respond in that way, sometimes it's like a gray area of sometimes it's wanted, sometimes it's not. I understand there's a bottom line. No means no. It definitely means no. But as a society, if we as trans women are given an image of like an over-sexualized image, and then that kind of, does that contribute to the negative stereotype in any way? Or is it the way it is?
It is very possible. I have not really looked up much on that, but I do see how it actually would work that way, because I did read a lot of, for example, going back to things like sex work. I've read up a lot about transgender porn actresses, and how they felt like they were being dehumanized, because you have to be put in this, you have to serve a specific role if you're a transgender female, and you have to look a certain way. And in a lot of ways it's dehumanizing, and it's the only representation we get. And so when a man looks at us, that they see that image, And then of course we dress the way we are, it shows that image too. So it could be that what we're doing, which is no fault of our own, by the way, how we choose to dress does not mean that we are inviting this attention. However, it's possible that seeing this that due to how we dress and how, you know, we're portrayed in porn under these dehumanizing fucking stereotypes, that may be what people expect. I actually was reading something a lot about like objectification, because yesterday some guy who I presume knew I was trans probably saw like the 5 o'clock shadow I always have, because I don't have very good shading stuff, and he still wanted to get with me, and I looked up things about objectification, and there was a transgender sex worker who felt like he was focusing too much on her body, and she felt really objectified. And I think that with how men view us and the fact that some transgender women do fit that view, it's possible, but I don't think that it's the sole cause.
We definitely need more laws. And when they talk about this, make sex work legal,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they really know what that means. In my opinion, I would assume there would be a form of tax to be paid, for one. If you're saying make sex work legal and you're asking the government to recognize that, there probably would be a form of payment of tax. So,
Yeah.
are you sweating?
A little bit. It is hot in my house.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, no. So with that being said, you know, if they were to make that legal, there'd probably be a lot more protective rights, supportive rights.
I agree.
But I'm just not sure how this all plays out, making it legal, because it would be fair, as I am a taxpayer, that they would also have to pay a tax. And that would be fair. You can't say something's legal and then you don't, pay tax. We all have to pay a tax, to some degree. So, but now that I see some of these incidents where people do that work, but then outside of that work, you just want to be normal. Yeah, you need some protective rights. Absolutely, there should be protective laws that help protect the girls who do that line of work. There's a lot of information that goes with that. KiKi, did you have something further to say about that?
Yes, I do agree that sex work should be legalized, because there's just some things that the legal market can actually do that keeping it on the, down can actually doesn't work with, and that is these extra protections. So if you legalize it, not only are you not going to jail, but now you can do it in a safe, protected area where they can't take advantage of you, and and nobody gets hurt, and your protection is obligated. Essentially nobody gets hurt. But the other that is one thing I wanted to say. And then the other thing I wanted to say, which kind of ties into this, is because I myself have unfortunately fallen on desperate times, and I did work related to this kind of stuff. In the past, when I was dating an ex, I almost said a bad word. Anyway, when I was dating an ex who was very abusive to me, I went to do sex work because he was spending all his money on crack. And I felt desperate because I needed money for my bottom surgery and I needed it now. So I started taking pictures of myself without clothes on, or maybe in just a bra, and and
Did you feel like that was the only way to make money? Were you not able to
I don't work. I don't have a job. Or I just said that twice. I don't work. It's not easy for me personally to find work. I've tried hard so many times, and it's like no employer wants me.
Now, why do you say that? Now, when you look for work,
I
when
send them my application, they never get back to me. I've done this was just over and over again, and it's.
I hear that a lot, but are you looking for employment? And I do when I help with my masterclass, giving back to people. I love to give back. I help people look for work and the skills that they have. Were you looking for like jobs that you knew you could do, or just any old job? Because that happened to me before too. I had doors closed for jobs that I knew I probably couldn't do. But like, where were you looking?
I was actually looking for some places like we were originally, me and Hope were both going to do CNA, but I'm honestly second guessing the CNA thing
Oh
because
no.
it's like I can barely take care of my own mental health. I've attempted suicide multiple times in the past 7 months, ever since I broke up with the ex I've been talking about. If I cannot take care of myself, I do not feel comfortable with life or death situations, you know, regarding other people. Like, thing about CNAs is you're doing things like cleaning them and feeding them, and I think giving them their medication. So it's like if you mess up with a medication, like let's say you miss a detail and the patient can't communicate because let's say they're on life support, so you have to give them their pills, and you know you are reading but you miss a detail, right?
Yeah.
That could potentially mean the difference between your patient just, you know, has a few extra nutrients or your patient now dies. I don't feel comfortable with that kind of life or death situation on my
I
hands.
definitely understand that. Misty, now you had a couple of questions that you had set to
Yes.
share.
My question is for you, KiKi. What do you think we could do to protect ourselves against violence and abuse? Like when it's just you and someone in the room, or just a situation where it's a hands-on, oh God, this is happening. What do you think we could do?
Well, one thing I would definitely recommend: invest in pepper spray. Get like there's a I don't know if either of you are around the Schenectady area very often, but on J Street there is or not J Street, right off of J Street on State in downtown Schenectady, there is a store called D-Mart, and they sell pepper spray. In fact, can you pause the recording for a second?
Sure.
So what I have here is pepper spray, and this is what they have at D-Mart. It's $10 plus tax, quite obviously. But this is Dragonfire Red Pepper Defense Spray, net contents 11 grams. Now, basically how this works is you have a slide here, you push it this way, and now that it's in active mode, you just push that button and the spray will come right out, and you can incapacitate your attacker.
I think it'd be awesome if we can develop our group to do self-train and defense.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think, like, Misty, you were mentioning like wanting to do like you know, stuff for the community. I think like if we gave back by offering self-defense training for transgender people and other people in the LGBT community, so we have like an LGBT based safe space for people to learn things regarding self-defense, because unfortunately the violence in the greater LGBT community is not much better, and I think this would be like a great thing to do, if I'm being honest. I have no
I think it
idea
would be
how
a
it would
good thing to do, because those skills would come in handy. There could be essential, change the situation from that it could be worse than it does if you know how to defend yourself. So
And
that's
plus,
definitely something to look into.
like one of the things that I did before I had pepper spray is I always carried knives, and unfortunately, it was always me to pull it out first whenever somebody got violent. So they would punch a wall, and I'm like, nope, my PTSD is triggered. I'm not going to be beaten. I'm not going to be choked. I'm not going to be raped. And so the knife came out, and it's like, you know, this happened at a bus stop, and it's like, you need to go. We're done here. It's a wrap. Get lost. So I didn't want to do that every single time, because that's escalating. That's not helping the situation. This would be escalating, because you're incapacitating your attacker so that they cannot fight.
One of the things I know about trauma is definitely having a support system. Because if you're not in a position where you could have these type of tools or exercise these type of things, you're definitely going to need a support system. And you have someone named Hope.
Yes.
Oh, who's Hope?
That is my love, my life, my eternal life. That is my girlfriend for in this life and the next. That is the one other person that was made for that I was meant to be with, and she is my girlfriend.
Let's bring her in. Let's talk to Hope for a few minutes. We may have to do another segment, but I wanted to give a few moments to have Hope come in. So we're going to have her come right on in and chat with her for a few minutes.
All right,
we are so excited we had some technical difficulties with Hope, but we will bring Hope back in on another segment. Before we leave, let's just take a temperature check and just see where we're at. I would say that my temperature check is probably out of 10. I feel really good being able to have the moments that I share with you ladies. So thank you. I feel really good. I'm going to be heading off to work, but my temperature check is definitely out of 10. And I'm so excited that we got to share a little bit more about us, because it brings us closer together. And we are doing the steps it takes to build community. So thank you. Next.
I'd say first of all, how does the temperature check work?
Goes like from 1 to 10.
Scale of 1 to 10.
1 is the best, 10 is the worst.
No, reverse of that. 10 is the best, 1 is like the least.
Oh, okay. I'd say as far as like a temperature check, and that's to measure like mental health wise, right? Or
just after the conversation.
Right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do kind of feel a little overheated, probably due to this room, maybe a little bit due to what I talked about, but I'd say aside from everything, I'd say I'm about a 7 or an 8. So
and I'm at an 8.5.
8.5.
No, not quite a 9, but we'll be soon. It's a hamburger away.
That sounds so yummy. I'm starved. Ladies, let's cut out and come back again. We are so sorry about the technical difficulties, but we will be talking to Hope a little bit later. We're looking to know more about Hope and how she supports you. And we want to know a little bit about her story and her background. We'll catch you later, ladies. Until we meet again, I always say, have fun today and enjoy your day and love today.